I'm Tamika D. Mallory.
And it's your boy Mysonne, the General.
We are your host of TMI.
Tamika and Mysonne's information, truth, motivation, and inspiration.
New name, new energy, but
same old us.
What's going on, my son Lennon?
Oh, I'm tired. You know,
you start off tired.
Listen, you start off tired. It's been a long weekend. You know, I've been really back into my workout lately. You know, so that's been a thing. Like, when you get older, like, I remember I used to just be in the gym for hours and just being able to do a lot of things. And after about 30 minutes, like, it don't, like, it ain't.
They don't snap back.
It don't
like
just
it
snap
used
back,
to.
but you know that, you know it's working, but it takes a lot more work to do it. So, you know, my body is sore, but it's working through that soreness and getting that back. And then, you know, because my little brother, shout out to my little brother, Parlay, like, he works out every day. And he's, like, on Instagram, he got his six-pack, and I'd be like, I got him working out. Like, I just can't be the old big brother that's with the dad bod. I just can't. That's not going to work out for me. So, every time I feel like I'm about to be lazy, I go look at his page and be like, yeah, he out there. He done did 50 pull-ups. He's showing off his six-pack. So let me get my low self in the gym and just get back to what I'm doing. So, you know.
It's a good day. I've been working out through my sickness. Since last week. I had a terrible, terrible cold that really knocked me down. Seriously, like, wow, these colds. I mean, this was a different type of cold. I've had some colds before, but this one was like really, really bad. I was pretty sure I might have to like go to the doctor at some point, but I didn't have to. And you know, I decided to go ahead and work out twice since I felt sick. The first day I got sick, I worked out, and maybe 4 or 5 days later, I did it again. I was a little slow. I had to stop a couple of times, but I think it was like really good for me to just continue to push forward. So you're right. As we get older, our physical is not matched up with our minds because we think we still 25.
You think you still got, I remember I was getting on a bar doing 30 and 40 a clip and doing 10 and 15 and still having energy.
Whatever that means.
I mean, it's when you get on a bar and you do the amount of pull-ups. So if you do 30 in a row, that's one clip. And you do 30 again, it's another clip. So I was doing that 10 times, you know, in my heyday. So now when you go up there and you like, okay, this little 15 going to have to work. You know, and we ain't gonna do 10 cents. We're gonna do 5 or 6 cents.
Yeah.
You know, so it's different, but just the fact that you do it, it just maintains the healthiness. You know, and I intermediate fast. I don't really eat during the daytime. I start eating probably around 3 or 4, and eat about a meal and a half. You know, just trying to stay healthy. So
yeah, well,
because health is wealth.
I wish I could say that. I don't really eat in the morning, but I eat throughout the day. I had stuffing at 12:30 today.
Yeah, that's a lot. Stuffing is one of those meals that's gonna put some pounds on you.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the stuffing has turkey in it, and I feel like if I only eat that, like once,
then it's a whole meal.
I get it every Sunday.
Yeah,
from the good
I
spot.
don't even eat. I haven't eaten stuffing. I haven't ate stuffing or rice in a long time. I try to stay away from the starch.
You try. You better than me. I'm not.
I eat a lot of vegetables and.
Me and old Linda Sarsour, we can eat.
Oh yeah, y'all throw down.
We
y'all go to the restaurant and order 3 meals.
I don't do that as much as I used to.
But you still do it. I don't know as much as you used to, but I know that
I used to do it all the time, and it wasn't about eating all of the stuff, but it was just like I want to taste this and I want to taste that, but I don't do that anymore. So
okay,
not because I don't want to be wasteful, but also I don't know. My taste buds are not exactly as they were, so I'm finding out some new things. I tell you, it is something to be said about when you visualize certain types of foods. And then when you try to go eat it, it's something like I used to love to eat fish with the head on. Like that is a thing for me. I love me a good piece of any type of prepared. I don't like blackened food, but I like all types of things, whether it be, you know, broiled or fried or whatever fish with a head on. Now, when I see the head, it's something about looking in the eyes. I was watching the show and the fish was doing something and eating stuff and doing whatever. And I was like, I don't know if I can continue to eat it this way because after the show, then when I was like putting fork to mouth and the fish head was on, I just caught a glimpse of it and was like, ugh. So that's just something that happened to me earlier in life. It's just like the same thing with being on a plane. I was fine. I could fly in that window seat. That was my favorite place to be, in a window seat. Just go to sleep. Doesn't matter where on the plane. I just was glad to get on, glad to lay down or sit down. Now, I gotta have an aisle seat. And that all happened to me as I got older. So you definitely change as you get, to your older years.
Yeah, that's a reality.
We
you
do.
Definitely evolve, and we grow, but your little bones start getting a little different, and your mind start.
Yeah, I wonder if that's evolving, evolution, or devolving.
Dissolve.
I don't think. No, devolving. That's a word.
Is a word? Is devolving a word? I don't never think I heard of it. I heard of dissolve.
No,
I never heard of devolve.
Look, let me look it up and see.
Okay, let me
I
see
think devolve, but not devolution.
I didn't say devolution.
No, I was trying to make the point.
I do not think devolve is a word.
Maybe it's not. No, devolving is definitely a word.
And what does it mean?
Going down.
Okay, I'm just making sure because I never heard
Let
of
me
it
see.
before.
Let me see. Is devolve a word? Yes, devolve is a word. It means to transfer or delegate power, responsibilities, or rights to a lower level. It means going downwards, basically.
I guess.
I know a little bit of words.
I mean, because I ain't
Sometimes
never heard that
don't
one.
be knowing words. I'd be like, what in the world? I have to look up words. I don't have a problem with that at all. I used to be like, oh, it made me feel inferior. But now I just be like, let me go look and see.
The only dumb question is the one you don't ask.
So I guess it's a lot of dumb questions out here. So anyway, my thought of the day today. In Louisiana, they recently rolled back the tax credit for film and television production companies. So when people in the past, you could, in certain states, if you bring an entire production to a city, the incentive is to give you a tax credit. And 50 Cent has an entire studio and I don't know if it's an actual, I'm sure it is a building, but anyway, he was bringing film and production for his show, at least one, maybe more than that, to Louisiana. And the legislature there has decided to vote against that continuous tax credit, which was to the tune of like $150 million. So it's like a real big tax credit. It's funny because I remember watching a video of some young man from Louisiana who was basically saying like, oh, 50 Cent, you come here and
Hurricane
you decide.
Chris.
Oh, okay. See, I don't know these folks.
Hey, baby.
Yeah. So he's like, you come here and you don't work with the local community and what have you. So I remember seeing that, but then just the other day, there was, reports of him, 50, responding to these new tax credits, this new tax credit situation. And I can remember distinctly hearing him say over time that he doesn't really do politics. Even on the Breakfast Club, I think he said something like, politics scare me. I'm not really into politics. But that's just not true for any of us because as we often say, if you don't do politics, politics does you all the time. Everything in your life, from what you eat, from who you sleeping with, how you sleeping with them, where you live, what's going on with the street lights, with the parking, with the paved roads, everything, whether you have clean food in your supermarkets, whether or not your children are being properly educated, every single thing that we do every single day is political, everything, right? And, I listened to him say, I'm not really into the politics thing, but then he was responding saying like, hey, first he was kind of like, well, let's see what happens because obviously someone advised him that there was a vote coming up. Then next he, made some other comments like, well, wow, like, oh, things happen, things happen for a reason. So even though he might not have been given a deep political analysis of the situation, he obviously, his decision making has been impacted by the state legislature in Louisiana and the decision that they've made. Now, Yes, he had a lawyer who's a white man on TV speaking about it. And the white man was very well versed that, well, we're looking into it. We're going to see what direction this takes and how it is shaped going forward. But somebody on your team, whoever it could be your mama, your sister, somebody, when you are in business and when you're just living as a person every day, has to be connected to and understand the politics of what's going on around you. It doesn't matter what level of life you're in. If you care about your future, if you are trying to invest, they talk, everybody's Bitcoin, and, this is a big part of the conversation now. It's coming back because after Trump was elected, then, Bitcoin shot up, and you got so many people out there talking about whether you should invest or when you should have invested. But all of that is, again, connected to politics. It's all connected to politics. So for people out there who say, I don't do politics, this is a very good example of a situation where you can just think you go into a city to set up shop. And by the way, it impacts the local community because there are people there who would have been able to get jobs, right? Because you're not going to hire the lighting people, even the cleaning crew to come all the way from California or New York City to come there to do a local job. You're going to be looking for local people. And in fact, in most places, the tax credits and other things like the space that you're in, it is directly associated with you bringing local business into your studio, into your project. Mm-hmm. So those are jobs, those are contracts, and it's also proximity to opportunity. Because if we need a scene where we need a bunch of walk-ins or we need a bunch of people for the day, you're not going to go looking for folks that's in Alabama. Mm-hmm. You're going to put out a call for people who are in the local community. So all things tied together and all politics are local. And so I just thought that was such a good point that, you can't separate yourself from politics because and it doesn't, I'm not saying whether your politics are conservative or liberal or somewhere in between. I know a lot of people who have a lot of money that in their mind, their pocketbooks will be better under a conservative presidency or a conservative legislature, which in this case is not the situation because the Republicans are the majority in the state legislature of Louisiana, and they still made a decision to cancel that tax credit. So sometimes it works in your favor, but a lot of people that we know that have money, they might be conservative with their pockets, but they're very liberal with their social concerns. And so they find themselves like in the middle of that all the time. So, hey, 50 Cent, politics matter.
I think for me, right, it's just weird that this vote just happened, right? Like out of nowhere, 50 brings is in Shreveport. Uh-huh. So he brought a whole economy to Shreveport for one day.
Going to,
well,
right?
In one day, he was talking about, I heard his Breakfast Club interview, and he was talking about how much revenue he raised. He showed them on that weekend that he could raise all this money, and he was saying we did,
and there was no violence. For
no violence, So I it's just weird that all of a sudden when somebody shifts, the culture and the economy in the city, that they would just immediately vote against, But once again, like
but we don't know. We don't really know how long this was going on.
Yeah,
and how long it was being
debated. It's just
the
timing. To me, the timing of it just seems very weird.
But he also said that where do you find places, especially in a city, in a state but a city specifically like Shreveport, where violence unfortunately is a norm, and it shouldn't be, but it is. And then he also said that in his caption where he's talking about everything happens for a reason, he said, and where else can you go that for 16 days there's been no violent crimes in a particular community, which absolutely could be attributed to, people seeing there's something new happening, there's possible opportunity. But I wish that our brothers and sisters, especially those people who have a lot of money, have a lot of resources, would really take the time to educate themselves on what's going on. 50 is from Queens, right? And you have Erica Ford and others there in Queens. Then he's from Queens, right? Yeah. Okay. And then you have, right there, neighboring city, neighboring borough in Brooklyn, under A.T. Mitchell. These places have had more than 16 days with no shootings. This is not no violent crime. Like this is not like a phenomenon or something that you created. It is to be commended, but it happens across the city whenever you have business professionals working alongside the anti-violence community. Like, this is a thing. And we have places in New York where it was over 100 days without anybody getting shot, without violent crime being at the level that it's at this time. And it's not that you don't want to acknowledge the success of what he's doing, but he also needs to find a way to be more connected to those people who have been doing this stuff for a long time and can really show you models for where it's actually working. Because 16 days is cool, but I know places that have tripled, if not quadrupled, that amount of times with no violent crime.
It makes sense. But I think he wanted to show the possibility.
Right.
This is a place where he's planning to bring his business, and he wanted those legislators to actually see, the people who run the town, and say, look, we bringing these people here. I know you're a little scared, black people coming, but it ain't no violence. We're gonna help the economy. We're gonna bring it up. We're gonna make this town into something big. And I think it's unfortunate that after he decides that this is the place he's gonna do it, that they decide to make these cuts. So
the Democratic legislators there, I saw in an article, they were talking about how this state needs to become more of a place that's friendly for people, and how this vote will impact that, because they're trying to bring business, new opportunities. They're trying to bring, I'm sure, enlightenment and something fresh to their communities. But you do have legislators, especially older ones, especially old
they don't
white
want
men.
you there.
They want to keep their communities,
the
and
town
they
white.
like keeping people poor and in distress.
Yes, they want you to. They don't want no new people, especially black people. And this is just a reality. And we can have these conversations. People say, "Oh, it's always racial." It's race. We live in a racial country where racial, and where race is a big factor. And to act like it's not, white people who have lived in communities by themselves, where they know everybody, Sue, Joe, and that, and you come to their communities and you talk about bringing a bunch of, they don't want that. They just don't want it. And it's just the reality of what we're dealing with. So, hopefully, despite all of this, 50 can figure out a way to benefit off of his move and make, he's going to make some money. 50 going to figure out how to make some money anyway.
But it makes me feel like I wonder, because on one hand, $150 million, you would imagine that the people locally, the legislature, they would want that, because it is really, truly an economic boost for the community. And so if he could do it, then other white folks and whomever else is in the film industry could do it too. So it feels like it's kind of cutting off your nose to spite your face. But if your conspiracy theory, because we don't know when this started.
I'm just saying, to me, it sounds about white to me, because the reality of the situation is this is what the reality is all the time. They will lose money rather than see us win. Just like the reason why I stopped messing with Nike. They'll cut off a black. They don't care. The number 2 shoe on this label, if you say something or do something we don't like, we don't want y'all. We're going to get y'all.
You talking about Kyrie.
Yeah.
And Nike.
This is the number 2 shoe. LeBron was the only shoe that was ahead of him, and they got rid of him because whatever they feel they don't want you to benefit, or they feel like they got to put you in place, they will sacrifice money. And people don't understand that. They'll throw some crumbs at you, but the minute that they feel like they have to show you, or you impeding upon, their space, or you come into where they live at, now it's a different thing. Make me some money over here, but I don't want you to be where I'm at now.
Don't be too smart.
You can't be too smart.
Don't speak up for
you know what I'm saying? So those are the realities we're dealing with, man. And
I agree.
It brings me to a topic that I was having a discussion about. We talk about all these things. We talk about politics. And we know since the election, there's been a lot of division. Like, there's been a lot of people. I seen the young girl on your page. I forgot what her name was.
Lene.
But it was very deep and it made me just really understand. She just was basically talking about being a black woman, and just like, we need space, we need time, we tired of being strong, we don't have to be strong, we want to enjoy life, we want this and that, and we're tired of y'all saying we're resilient, but we're going to enjoy ourselves, we're going to get back to work, we're going to do all these things, but we realize what this moment is, and don't try to tell us it's something else, because we realize what it is. And it was just real for me, just listening to it. It just encompassed feelings that I know I've had, right? So the topic that I want to know, and I wanted to ask this question to our listeners, right? Because I think in this time, people have drawn a line, right? Politics have always been different. People have different they always say things you don't want to talk about is politics and religion, politics and religion. And I don't think prior to this time it's been as this much for me. Right?
For you.
For me.
Other people have always been very serious about their party.
And for me, it's not party, because, listen to me, prior to there being, Donald Trump, prior to Donald Trump running for presidency, I never even just cared about party. I just looked at the people I liked, right? And it just so happened that the Democratic people, like, I liked Obama. Was the first time I ever voted. Like, Obama made me feel like, oh, I want to go vote for him. And then as we started doing this work, I started getting the local, and I started voting for the Bronx Borough president, and I started voting for the Senate, and I started voting for council people, and I started, hanging around. I actually started seeing the people on the front line with me actually be voted into positions of power. And Natasha and Kevin Riley, and we actually seen people that I know cared about the people. You know what I'm saying? So that got me engaged in the political process. But when I started seeing Trump, and I just not just seeing Trump, just listening to Trump, just being a good judge of character, paying attention, and just the character he had just wasn't presidential to me. It just was so divisive. It just was It was just so negative, and I'm like, how could someone like that be the president of the free world? Like, how do we pick someone like that to represent us with that much negativity and just so much divisiveness? Everything about him just seemed divisive to me. So the question that I have is, should people feel a way because if you decided that you align with the values of Donald Trump, that somebody says, I don't even want to be friends with you, right? Is it wrong because people are, people have a different political view. There's nothing wrong with having a different political view. But I think, for me, this is my personal thing, I don't think if you align with Donald Trump, because you can be a Republican. There's Republicans, like I told people all the time, if what was the guy who was running against Obama? What was his name?
Who are you talking about?
The white guy.
Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney. If Mitt Romney would have won, I would have been all right.
Was Mitt Romney the person against Obama?
Yeah, it was Mitt.
So.
Yeah, if Mitt Romney would have won, I would have been mad because I wanted to see Obama win. But whoever voted for Mitt Romney, I wouldn't have been like, oh, you're like, I didn't see anything morally wrong with Mitt Romney. I just wanted to see Obama win. I wanted to see a black man in office. But I didn't. Yeah. I had no moral and no just complete disconnect from Mitt Romney to where I felt like he was somebody that went against my moral compass. But in this election for me, it was more than just an individual. It was more than a president. It was more than a policy. It was like we were voting for the morality of America. And for you to pick someone who went totally against what I stand for as a man, like somebody who's divisive, who disrespects women, who's been has sexual, charges against them, someone who has negatively talked about everybody, especially people from black, origin, from different countries, from the Haitians, who's done so many things that go against what it is that I represent as a man. And the people who aligned with him, it shows you exactly what it is, because you see the people who align with him, they have the same values that he has. And for me, it's like, if those are values that you share, if that's the type of person that you are, I don't want nothing to do with that, right? And I say that to say, like, people say, I don't think that's right. I don't know if it's probably some, but I doubt there's very many Christians and atheists who are really close in proximity. They probably know each other. They probably say, hey, what's going on? Cool with each other. But I doubt that they're friends and they share space with each other all the time, right? And what happens in life, right? For me, what I know is you have friendships, right? And then sometimes friends grow apart because your values change, or you realize that you never had the same values. That's why a lot of friends, once they share space, like a friend will start living with you for 1 month, right? You had a 20-year friendship with this person, but you actually live in close proximity with this person for 1 month, and they stop speaking to each other forever, right? Because they actually start to know each other, right? Because when you start knowing each other outside of just we going out to hang, we like to drink and we like to go to the party, and and only when we comfortable, when you start to really know somebody and you start to understand their values, you understand certain shit about them, you realize that we really have nothing in common. And I think that's what this election did for me. It's a lot of people that I love, and some people that said they supported Trump, right? And the way they supported Trump, even though I didn't like the fact that they supported Trump, it didn't make me feel like our values were different, because they was like, well, just based on this, I just think based on the economy, I think he's a businessman. But there were people that the reasons and the things that they gravitated to, the shit that they was posting, the shit they was sending to me, the disrespect, and they fed into just the negativity of that person. Like it aligned with their spirit. And it made me feel like, I don't think we have nothing in common, because that's not who I am. It doesn't align with anything that I think. Like the more I'm talking to you, the more that I feel like we don't even need to talk again, and I'm fine with that. So what I want to know is, should people feel like it's wrong because I've just realized that the values that you have and the values that I have just don't align, and I want to separate myself from you, or is it okay? Like,
what do you mean? Is it okay? Is it okay to feel that way?
Is it okay to feel that way? Like, cause people make it seem like I've been on Instagram. Oh, people shouldn't be. You shouldn't feel like you attacking somebody because their political views. Your vote is your vote, and you're 100% right. Your vote is your vote. When you make a decision, people have the right to feel how they feel about the choice that you make. Right? It's certain things that's a no-brainer for me. Like I grew up in the streets, even though I've evolved from the streets. But if you're a man and you decide to take an action in the streets and you get caught up and you decide that you're going to cooperate with the police because you don't want to deal with the consequences of your acts, but you want to make sure that somebody else deals with those consequences, I don't want to have anything to do with you. Right? Even though I'm not in it, but I understand that you morally are too weak to stand with your own consequences of your own actions. So I can make a decision. I don't want nothing to do with you. And I think in this instance for me, it's a lot of people that I've seen in a different light that I was cool with, or we had relationships and we would talk to. And I don't really think I want to talk to them no more, because they've shown me how far away from my moral compass they are.
Yeah. I mean, here's my thing. It's a very simple piece for me. First of all, to your point, as I watched the way that some people, especially men that I actually have a lot of respect for, disrespect that woman, regardless of whether you liked her. The lady never did anything to you. I was having this conversation with Shabazz too, your friend, and also our brother who's online, and he was saying that I'm not with the disrespect, because even in my own mother's house, if I disrespected somebody, family member, friend, the lady down the hall, even when your own mother is talking crap about the lady next door, you could never come out your mouth and say, oh, she this or that, to whatever, the disrespect. It was not tolerated, because once you disrespect somebody, you in a position, you ready to go to a whole different place. And I watched a lot of men, a lot of brothers put things, and sisters put things on their social media that was completely demeaning, disrespectful, saying that, and I've said this to you before, that, Kamala Harris slept her way to the top, just saying all kinds of crazy things about her. And first of all, it shows to me that you actually are bankrupt of actual ways to discuss policy. You don't even know how. Right? So all you know how to do, because you're so ignorant, is to resort to following the ignorant crowd. I don't want to have anything to do with that. I take seriously when I see a woman, and she's not, which by the way, I don't care if she was on a stripper pole at night. But that, of course, leans in a certain direction that gives people to feel a certain way about you, so they might say some funny stuff, and that's different. But this is a woman who is highly accomplished, very intelligent, has, many years and years of a professional body of work. And for you to feel like that's the way that you should speak about her, it makes me feel like you're talking about me. Like, I take it personal like that. Absolutely, I do. And I think one of the problems that we have in our society is that we don't take certain things seriously. Like, everything shouldn't be something to play with. Everything shouldn't be a demeaning joke. Some things we could do that, but then there's sometimes it's like you be in the house with your family, everybody snapping and joking, but come a certain time when your grandfather walk in the room or the energy changes. You know better. This is not the time for that. It's not the place for it. We might have beef all year long, but when it comes to grandma's birthday party or somebody died, we get ourselves cleaned up. We're not showing up to the service with our pants sagging or with your tutu on from last night's party, because this is a different time. We got to pull ourselves up and show up with respect. So that for me has been a turnoff. But as it relates to the whole, and those are a lot of people, some of them voted for Trump, some of them didn't vote at all, some of them too ignorant to even find where to go vote. So that's and we know from the turnout that there were a lot of people who did not vote. A lot of that has to do with things that we will get into on this show, talking about the DNC, their failures, also people who are vehemently against genocide, and they weren't going to vote for Trump, but they could not bring themselves to vote for anybody that was running. You have different people who had different splitting points, right? So we know that. But I think that when it comes down to Donald Trump, to your point, I can remember when we were out there protesting in the summer of 2020, and even prior to that. I mean, forget about the summer of 2020. Prior to that, from the Women's March, I know the targeting that happened to us as a result of Donald Trump, William Barr, who was his attorney general. I know how we were talked about from that podium. I know how he disrespected people like April Ryan, a black woman who would question him just like she does every other president, every other press secretary, and the way in which he would disrespect her and speak to her, put a target on her back. I watched him with how he spoke of Colin Kaepernick, and how he also talked about police, just rough him up a little bit. LeBron James, throw him in the car, bang him up. And I also know, to the point that you always make, it's not that everybody who's racist follows or votes for Trump, but all the racists, absolutely, that's who they align with for the most part. Of course, you got some closet, more suited up Democrats that's racist as shit too. So I'm not saying they don't exist on the same on both sides, but that MAGA mindset is something that I can never align with. And I know how dangerous it is for us. A lot of these people that think it's cool to, and some of them thought it was funny, others of them think it's cool to go jump up and chummy up next to Trump, right? It's a lot of people that feel that way, but they also are not on the front line of anything. They're not in any movement. They don't understand what it looks like and how we could literally die seriously or be locked away, because if your black ass gets shot right now by police that he wants to be immune, we are the ones. We are the ones who would be out there, and then we will be targeted by his administration, by his Justice Department, and so on and so forth, and also police officers and the George Zimmermans of the world who think that, hey, why not? Why? It's one thing, we was killing already. We don't care if you Democrat, Republicans, we automatically feel that we have unmitigated power. But when we have a leader who is hateful and also divisive speaking every day, it emboldens us to be more like whatever it is that oppresses a particular group or vulnerable populations. So with that being said, I don't want to have a relationship with people. If you voted for Trump, don't tell me about it. Just keep it to yourself. Because if I find out about it, it's not that I don't love you. And if you call me and say, hey, I need you, I'm in trouble, that I wouldn't show up to try to be there for you, especially if you're a family member or somebody that I supported. But we don't have nothing to talk about on a regular basis.
Yeah,
That's just where I'm at.
That's what I'm saying. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if you feel the same way about me, I'm fine with that, right? Because that means that we just don't morally align. It means that our views and our values are completely off from different things. Like I can take somebody that you might not like all of, or I don't like all the things you're doing, but I can't deal with somebody who is just divisive, who's rude, who's ignorant, who is just completely negative. And it's nothing wrong with drawing the line and saying and separating yourself from that. You know, people say, oh, you being divisive. And I'm like, we are divided, right? And we are in times right now where you have to pick your tribe. You got to pick people on your team that are going to protect you, that have the same, that are aligned with you, that you know the worst come to worst, this person got my back. That they're not gonna stab me in the back. Like these are the times that we're in right now. And I don't think people find that out late. That's why you go and you see these dudes in the streets and they go to trial, and next thing you know, the person they thought was their best friend is sitting on the stand saying, well, this and that, because they're not really built for that. And I think we're in a time where you gotta know who's built for what. You got to know who's willing to die for what, who's willing to live for what they value. Do they value the same thing? Because if we don't have the same value, then we have to be divided. Like,
well,
minister
I don't want to use the word divided. Me. Yeah, but I think that the term
we're
divided.
We're not going to all be together.
Well, I think that the term divided is it's dangerous, especially when we're talking about black people. But there is a level of separation that I think is very different from divided, right? You can separate, you can isolate even yourself and your family from things that make you feel unsafe. But for us as a people to be divided, that's I think
to act like we're not to use words that make us feel comfortable, because there's a division. There's a bunch of people that feel this way, and there's a bunch of people that feel this way. Now, whatever word we want to do, I forgot who made the quote. There's like, how many of y'all want freedom? And he said, raise your hand, and then everybody raised their hand. He said, how many of y'all willing to die for freedom? Some of the people put their hands down. And he said, all right, the people that got their hand raised, in order for you to get freedom, you got to get rid of the people that put their hand down. Because these are the realities that we're in those times right now where they are going, like you said, the sellout Negroes that sold us into slavery. That's where we are. I don't want to align myself with nobody like that.
Right. I
have to understand that reality.
I think that words matter, right? And as people who are sitting in a leadership position, which we are, whether people like us in that position or not, and it is because we're active, like we're outside. So when you're outside, you have a certain level of leadership where people are listening to you and they're looking to you, not just to shine a light on or to bring awareness to what's wrong, but also to try to figure out, like, what is our pathway forward? Like, what is the inspirational part of our message? And I think that in this time, yes, there is division. Of course, there's division. But I hope that as black folks, that we try not to, especially as black people who are leaders, that we try not to lean so much into the division, and more so that we have a separation of interests, right? There's a separation of ideology. There's a separation of interests. It's just like, for instance, people, even though I said 100,000 times, I don't agree with anybody 100% on anything, right? And I said, I don't agree with Minister Farrakhan on these 2 points that he made about whatever the issues. We won't get into that today. But there were people who specifically wanted me to say I denounce him. And I refused to use that word. Mm-hmm. And so because I understood that word is connected to a particular way of dividing us in our community. I can easily sit here and say I don't agree with my son, and therefore I might not listen to your music because I don't agree with the message in your music. But if I say I denounce your music, I'm speaking from a place that it doesn't benefit me and you for sure. And it doesn't really benefit our community. What it does, though, is play into the hands of people who wanted to tell me this is what you need to do in order to prove to us as white folks, that you are more aligned with me and that my relationship with you is more important than your relationship with a black leader.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you. So whether they say the words or not, but if they do that, so if what I'm trying to say is you being a leader, right? And if you don't, because there are leaders who have done it, right? There's leaders and what happens was once they did that, they drew the line in the sand with that individual anyway. So they don't have to say this and that, or they showing you what it is that they represent.
I still push back on it because I knew that there was a particular reason why they wanted me to use that word. And quite frankly, those people, black leaders who have used the language, they are not smiled upon by the community, right? Like people, that's not a good word to use, especially me as a young woman for an elderly man whose career and
but the thing is, the problem
it spans wider.
But the problem is this. I think the difference is in what we're saying is this. Those people called for you to say something because you had a disagreement with your brother. It's like y'all was arguing over. You were like, come on, I don't
right,
because
I know the minister don't agree with me on everything at all.
You had a disagreement with your brother, and you and your brother was figuring it out. He's like, even though I don't disagree, I don't believe him when he says that. I don't believe that, right? But morally, you still aligned with that individual. Morally, his whole basis is I want to see our people. I'm a loving person. Everything about me is love. Maybe you don't agree with me on this and that, but you know my moral compass. Everything about me is love. He didn't show you that he was a person that went against the values of love that you had.
Yeah,
right?
but there are people, my son, when you're talking about an election, right? You have people out there, a lot of what folks were doing is responding to trauma, right? There are people out there that they literally, I was listening to some guys on a podcast, or I don't know what they was on, but anyway, I was listening to them, and they were talking about how, like, we've tried everything, and the Democrats keep selling us lies, and, you know, saying all the things that they were saying. They were giving all their reasons for why they voted for Trump or why they feel like Trump is a better option. And what I realize is there are a lot of people out here that their connection to the dollar or their belief that money will save us, that they believe, like, I'm going to go get close to the one who seemingly either has the money or looks like if I'm friends with him, maybe I could be closer. Mm-hmm. So those people, I don't want to deal with them either.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you.
But wait, listen, I don't want to deal with them either because ultimately you was willing to sell my bodily autonomy as a woman and your mamas and your sisters and others and my son's protection from the police and all of that. You was willing to sell it for a few dollars, right? Which we'll see how that works out. But that's what you was willing to do. So I don't want to have anything to do with you, but I don't want to be divided. I just don't want to have anything to do with your ideology in that way. I don't want to want to use words like denounce or even divided when I'm speaking about other black people. But you have every right to
I just believe it's separation. We could call it whatever you want. I just believe that we are in a time, right, that we have. I no longer want to peacefully coexist with anyone that I don't morally align with, right? Because I realize it hasn't been beneficial for me, right? Anytime that somebody I've been around, I seen things and I've been like, nah, you know, he might be a little. And what only thing that happens is that situation festers, right? So I want to just completely cut it off. Like I just start blocking people, unfollowing people that I know for, because at this point we not on the same page, right?
Yeah, I just want you, though, because, you know, you're a person that you're very extreme. You go from one extreme to the next. It's like you get on a topic, and then I'll go to sleep, and you talk about the topic. I wake up in the morning. You got 3 lives going on. Now you making 16 videos, and you all the way down the rabbit hole. That's one thing you and Teslin, y'all do the same thing. Once y'all get on a point, you're going to drive it down until every single until you are finished with it. Which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying I know that y'all two.
But I'd never come back, though. See what I'm saying? If I would understand how you feel.
What you mean you never come back?
No, what I'm saying is this. What I'm saying is once I made my mind up and said, and I've done the math and I sat, because I don't just come to this conclusion lightly, right? I don't just sit there and wake up one day and be like, nah, you know what? Boom, boom. No, I'm not impulsive. I've sat there and I thought
You're
about
not
something.
Impulsive anymore.
No, but I'm saying
there was a time.
There was never a time.
Oh, yes, it was.
Because there was never a time that I did something and had to walk it back.
Oh, yes, you have. Yes,
No,
you have.
you
have. Yes, you have. You have apologized. You have corrected, and you have pulled things down because the information that you had was not fully. You weren't fully aware of whatever was going on. Like, you've posted things that a friend has posted. I've done it. All of us are. If you're on social media,
I'm not saying that I haven't made.
So don't say that you haven't.
No. I'm not saying. I've definitely posted things that was ill-informed, because that's what social media was. When you first got on social media, you think people give you things, you be like, oh, this is right. This is okay. Let me post it. And then when you start realizing,
it was not when you was first on social media.
Yes, it was.
No, it was not.
So when's the last time I posted something?
You've been on social media for a long time.
Okay, so when the last time I posted something that I took down? It was something that just
happened like 3 months ago that I can't remember, but it was like everybody was talking about something, and then we found that was something that had to do with Biden. And then we found out, I was like, let me listen to this, because it doesn't sound like this is something, a bill or whatever, that Biden would actually be out here promoting. And then when we looked at it, it was like, oh no, this is the wrong information. Something? Absolutely. And it was your friend, who I know exactly who it was, who had posted it. And again, it's nothing wrong with it. We all have done it. And once we do it, we correct it. But I'm saying sometimes we are impulsive. Sometimes things that we see and things that make us feel a way that we've already been thinking about, right? You already been thinking about whatever the issue is, and then something happens, and we do make impulsive moves at times.
But I don't agree with what you're saying. What I'm trying to say is this. I'm not saying that I don't make impulsive moves. If you saying that I woke up and I wrote 3 this and 5 this and 5 that, right? That ain't impulse.
No, this is a developed idea.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to tell you. So if you see me go 3 and 10 and this and that, I've come to a conclusion that this is where I'm standing at, and I'm not moving from there.
All I'm suggesting,
that's what I'm trying to explain
all I'm suggesting to you is that sometimes we should do nothing. And what I'm saying is, as it relates to your friends and your relationships, yes, I've made a very clear decision about who I'm willing to engage with, right? And I know that there are people, I have to put people in different categories based upon the trauma or things that they're dealing with. I'm sure you're doing the same thing. I'm just saying sometimes we should just do nothing. That's all. Just do nothing. Just do nothing and let time, because they say time. The only thing, what do they say? The best thing about time is time. Just let time take its course.
But when you're almost 50 years old, time is time. I'm not 20.
But y'all are interested with that.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm not 20. I'm not, because what I've realized after my 20s, shit that I knew when I was, in my 20s, and then when I turned 30, I knew it before, but I tried to ignore it, right? With time comes wisdom. And you start seeing shit in people, you try to ignore it. And what I told people all the time, the shit that you don't like about somebody early, it don't go away. Mm-hmm. It only multiplies and gets bigger and bigger. So now when I start sensing the shit that I already know, right? It's like 50 Cent said. He said, once you on the fence, then I'm pushing you to the other side. Because I don't have the time to figure out anything else. Because if I'm wrong, I could have been right. Right? And that's how I live my life right now. I don't have the time to surround myself by anyone who I just don't think I align with. I don't want to think about it. I'm not trying to convince you to think how I think. I'm not trying to convince you to be my friend. I'm not trying to convince you to have the same values that I have. I don't want to do none of that shit. Mm-hmm. If it don't work, if it's not natural, if it just doesn't materialize how it's supposed to, I just don't want to deal with it.
I hear you. We can move on for it. I just, I'm careful in my life to be on a moral high ground. And I'm not saying that you are. I'm just saying I am. Because what might be, for some people, it's politics, but for other people, it's other things that each one of us has or that we carry, things that we do, decisions that we make, that another person might look at you and say, that's the sum of who you are, right? And I try not to do that because I know for a fact that there are a number of things that if I could change it or do it differently, I would. And so I try my best to approach situations by saying, I'm not coming here with a moral high ground or sounding like I can look at anybody else and point fingers. I don't have to be in relationship to people who voted for Trump. I just don't have to do it. I
But
don't
that's
want,
all I'm
if
saying,
you're in a
though.
relationship with
But
those.
it's not pointing fingers. It's because if, let's say, person says, I don't like somebody that wears red. I just don't want, they have the personal, and you can say, okay, cool, I wear red. You don't got to be around me, right? That's their decision. And it's not a moral high ground. It is my cutoff point. It is the line that I draw in the sand. It's certain shit for me and my mental health, my emotional health that I say to myself, I don't even want to be involved with.
Okay.
Right? You don't have to talk to me about it if that's how you feel about it. And I might be the person that the bane of your existence. It's shit that I do, and it's people that hate me because of who I am. And I have no problem with that. You stay over there, and I stay over here. And that's just how I want to live. I want to live my life with my circumference of people that made me come. Yeah, I want people to be able to challenge me. We're going to have disagreements, but we're going to disagree in respect. But we're not going to disagree about our morality. We're not going to disagree about the values that we share. Like, if we have those disagreements, then we're not on the same page. And there's no way that you cannot bring somebody to have the same value system that you have. That's not something that's negotiable.
I don't disagree.
So that's what I'm trying to say.
I don't disagree. I think I'm just responding to, listening to you. What I want you to just, I don't want us to wake up one day and everybody that we love, we lost because we in this damn fight.
That's
like
part
this
of life,
fight
though.
is so
Most of the
it's so
people that
grueling I feel like from where I know there's so many people that I love or people I was close to or places I used to go and things I would do and it made me happy, and now I don't have those relationships anymore because of my decision to I'm not talking about voting. I'm just talking about certain things like, I love certain things about family members or friends or whatever, but I realize that they don't fuck with me because I'm too much. I'm always posting about people being ignorant or whatever. That might not actually be it. So I'm only sitting here not wanting you to go down a path of looking up one day and all your people that you like to be around,
you know what
they
it is?
gone.
For me, it's just like, I'd rather be lonely than have to
I respect
appease or be somebody I'm not around people that I'm supposed to be comfortable with, right?
I got it.
Like, if I have to curb my enthusiasm and the love and just the passion that I have for things that actually care to me in order to make somebody comfortable, then I'm not even living. What the fuck I care about what you think about what I think, especially when I don't care about you that much. You know what I'm saying? It's not that serious for me. And if you feel like my views or the way I live my life make you uncomfortable, I invite you to do this. I tell people come on my page every day, I'm like, you can actually just unfollow or scroll by because I'm not going to stop saying what I think to make you comfortable. And there's people that do that. I have a lot of people that have platforms and they be like, yo, you know what? I admire you because I be wanting to say that stuff, but I don't want to deal with I don't give a fuck about no backlash about what you think about what I think. You know what I'm saying? That must be a very strange or lonely place to not be able to be you because you scared of what somebody's opinion is of your opinion. I have no such problem. So today on my music segment, I don't have a song. I just have an idea and a thought, and a question.
You and your questions today.
Yeah, is it because I've been very reflective in the last couple of weeks. Since we are just in uncharted territory, and I just want to just pay attention and just listen, like just paying attention to the air, listening to the air, just paying attention just to the vibe of the world, because God has to be saying something to me at this moment. I always say that I have been created for such a time as now, so I'm just listening, just really just taking it and just listening. And I've been watching music. And the question I had was, is drill music dead? I think I've been listening to it a lot, and I understand where it comes from. I understand the pain that it's coming from. You know, understand? It was born out of the streets. It was born out of the need for these young kids who are dealing with trauma to be heard, you know, and to express what it is that's going on in their culture. But as I'm watching Little Dirk, you know, as I'm watching NBA Youngboy, I'm watching King Von get killed, I'm watching every day, you know, K Fly, just watching the diminishing of it. I'm watching labels pull back, like the whole budgets for labels, people just being dropped from labels, and I don't know if I feel like it's just on the last leg. I feel like nobody really wants to invest in it. Right, I'm listening to it. I haven't heard like new drill rappers coming out of nowhere. I think there's still a subculture of it that, you know, from the trenches they're gonna still create. But I don't even think it ever really went that mainstream. With the exception of probably Little Durk and NBA Youngboy, who had some, you know, mainstream success. But I think watching what Little Durk is going through, just constantly seeing all of them just either get arrested or, you know, or murdered or shot, or I just feel like is falling apart at the seams, you know, like and I don't want to, because I feel like it was giving some of these kids opportunity to get out the streets, but I just feel like the negativity
that's so
is
like, I don't even know. I mean, I feel like it's a contradiction, because on one hand, I hear everybody saying that drill music has been very, very dangerous for our young people, and then on the same breath, you saying like you don't really want it to. I completely die, but there are people. There's people who probably want to give it a funeral, and there are labels that realize, damn, especially after you guys have been calling out the labels saying that they invest way too much in drill music and drill artists, and now you saying something. I don't know
what I'm
what
saying is
about.
this. I'm saying I believe that the energy around it has to pass, right? But I believe also that it's still the voice of an unheard community, right? It's still a voice of an unheard community. So I want to figure out, and it was profitable. There was some of these kids that was able to you know, get out of the streets, and some of them actually, you know, are making, all of them aren't dying, right? Some of them are actually making it out of there. But so I want that part. I want to be able to see these young kids be able to financially get out of it, because a lot of these people who make this drill music, like, they are in the trenches. These are kids that going home to no parents, family members is in jail, mothers on drugs. Like, these are people that come from the bottom. So I don't want to see, you know, the ability for them to make it out, especially when they put their life into that. I don't want that to disappear. I want the negativity to disappear. I want the glorification of the violence to disappear. I want the shooting. I want all of the negativity around it. And that's why I started the program that I started, from drill music to heal music, taking the same energy of the drill and talking about different things and evolving and making the music evolve to where it still has the same energy, because it has something that's moving these kids, but the substance has to change. But I do feel like, you know, I've been hearing this quote unquote sexy drill that, you know, they've been doing lately, that I think has the ability to go somewhere. But I think just the core drill or pretty much kill music.
That's what I'm saying. That's what y'all saying.
Yeah, it is
kill music.
But it is.
I'm just laughing to myself, because I was thinking about when Boosie and T.I. walked up and their sons was doing the song and they had the guns and stuff.
Yeah,
and T.I. asked them, what happened to the love music? Yeah. Why y'all don't make no love songs with the girls and all of that? I was cracking up, because it's such an old man's response.
Truth,
but that's how we feel.
Like
whatever happened to the love song?
Like, it's going to be, you know, we know what's going on the street, but y'all just...
I try to tell my child the same thing. Like, can y'all, whatever happened to, like, I really wanted for my child to be like the Will Smith or the, what's the other one? Nick Cannon. I'm like, there's a road. Like, why don't you go in that direction? But that ain't what them kids like. And then he looking at me like, you old. Like, that's old people. For old person is going to sit up here and say, why don't you come do Nick Cannon and Will Smith? But yo, these people are mega stars.
Yeah.
They made tremendous money, contributions, they've got movies, they got everything. And the chances of a person like, that's following sort of the same lane, I wouldn't say drill, but that lane of more gangster rap, their lifespan is not, it's few. Mm-hmm. It's very few. So I don't know. I think
the original gangster rap, there's a lot of people who transcended from gangster rap. You look at Snoop, you look at Dr. Dre, you look at 50,
Snoop out here
you look at Jay-Z, you look at, you know what I'm saying? You just look, there has been transcending from gangster rap. I just don't see many trans people that are transcending. Like if you look, Dirk was probably the biggest, drill rapper they have, and for him to be doing what he's dealing with, and it's based off things that come from drill, allegedly that come from just the music. It stems from the music. It's like, damn, we lost all type of like really good artists in this time with this drill music, like to the streets.
But that was the case. What did y'all? It was called gangster rap, right?
Yeah, it was called.
And people died.
No,
people died.
Not a lot of people. If you look at
Biggie a gangster rapper?
Yes.
That was a gangster rapper,
yes.
And so was Tupac.
Yes.
He was a gangster. Well, I know Tupac was a gangster rapper, but Biggie was like he wasn't like borderline.
No, it was street rap.
He was a gangster, and people died.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that people didn't die, but it was marginalized. It was and not taking anything away from
isolated.
Isolated. That's what I mean. It was isolated incidents. There was two people that had beef that got bigger than the music, and and it transpired.
But there's been more deaths than that as a result of these things. Because if you let Erica tell it, she's still dealing with young people in her community.
Yeah, because
that's a result
beefs,
of beefs that done been from rappers long time ago.
But those rappers are still alive.
That's true.
And what happened was the people in the street took on those beefs, and that definitely happened. But I'm talking about the actual rapper who is beefing is either dying or going to jail now. Every time you turn around, and it's based off beef that stems from the music or inside the music, or the music that they created was based off the beef, that they had that blew them up. So I just think, like I wanted these kids to have opportunities, man. And I just hope they're smart enough to evolve, and see the trend and see how they definitely trying to trap you off, and people are losing their lives. Hopefully they be able to spin. You gotta learn how to pivot, man.
Yeah, but you also as a artist, as an older artist, between yourself and a whole bunch of other older guys that are out there that have experience, the labels should be partnering with you to figure out what does it look like to help these young people, because they got the energy, they got the talent, they have all of that, but we all need mentors.
There's no more mentors.
We all need mentors.
A&Rs, they don't really have any of that no more.
We all need mentors.
They just take this song.
And that needs to happen so that you can figure out how can they express the same feelings they have, the same, all of that, but then not allow it to end up with like real actual violence. I don't know how you do it. There's a way to do it. Got the nerve to be talking about old people.
It's evolution.
I don't know nothing about it.
I think it's evolution, and I think that you take the pain, right, and you figure out how you bottle the pain up. Like I used to teach music as an alternative to violence. Mm-hmm. I used to go to the detention centers, shout out to Carmen, and that was the program that we had. Like you wanted to express the pain, put it in music, all right? But we not gonna kill nobody. We just want to express the pain. But let's figure out how do we express this pain, and then we don't act up on the violence.
Right.
So I think, there's so many different ways to do it. I just want these kids to live. I'm tired of seeing 12, 13, 14-year-olds talking about they spinning the block and literally dying the next day after they make songs and videos that's on the internet. So, I want the energy of the music and the culture to live, but I just want the violence and the negativity and us dying and going to jail to disappear.
Yeah. Well, disappearance, I don't know, but certainly there could be a huge reduction, right? A huge reduction.
Definitely need a reduction. And that brings me to my I don't get it.
You loaded today.
I feel like I'm loaded today.
Got all the
usually I sit down and just let you rock.
No,
you usually do your thing.
Don't do that.
You usually do your thing.
Because they love to say in the comment section that, is she going to let him say anything? And why she had to cut him off and why this and that. So I try
But listen, man, you're doing a lot better. You're doing a lot better. You don't cut me off.
I cut you off sometimes.
Not a lot.
But you need to be cut off sometimes.
I don't never need to be cut
Yes,
off, but
you do.
that's neither here nor
Because
there.
you definitely make impulsive social media posts. But
I
anyway,
don't really make impulsive.
I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna belabor the point. But you definitely make impulsive social media decisions.
I mean, if that's your decision,
absolutely.
if that's your position,
that's my position.
I don't agree.
Okay.
You
don't have to agree.
I don't agree.
I don't agree either that you don't. I know you do.
Okay. Well, I don't regret them. So if you're saying they're impulsive, then I would regret when I posted it. So, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, I don't get it today. Mike Tyson had a fight. There was.
Why do you do this?
Mike Tyson.
Like, why is it?
Because that's my thing. Everybody got their thing. My thing is Mike Tyson had a fight. Over the weekend, Mike Tyson had a fight. And
he had a fight with another person.
He had a fight with Jake Paul.
Yeah.
YouTuber.
Was a boxing match.
I mean, if you call it that. Okay. And there was a lot of people who had things to say. I made a joke about it, because Mike has been an advocate for Trump. He's been a Trump supporter. So, at the conclusion of the fight, Mike had lost. And I made a joke. It was like, oh, he voted for Trump. You know what I'm saying? That's what happened. That's karma. It was funny to me. A lot of people didn't take it funny, And we have mutual friends that I actually love. One of them who was real close to Mike. And Mike was getting beat up this week. Just based off the fight. Just based off Mike just wasn't Mike. And the reality of the situation is that there are a lot of us who are Mike Tyson fans, who grew up on Mike Tyson, who are used to a level of excellence. Even when he lost, he fought. There was just a level of warriorism that we saw Mike Tyson with all the time.
So the friend called you and said that you hurt his feelings?
No, he didn't really call me. He just made a comment to me. It's like, and I apologize to him because I understood it was a joke, but I did not understand how closely aligned they are. You know what I'm saying? So it was really just a joke, but he felt the way, like, because everybody was just beating Mike down. Everybody was beating Mike down.
By the way, that was an impulsive post.
I don't think it was impulsive because I don't feel like I said nothing wrong because I watched,
just like you said it was a joke, but your joke was the brunt of somebody else. Like
yeah,
it was
a joke
person.
About a fight. When you're a professional, right?
That was not the joke about a fight.
It was.
You're very serious about the Trump thing.
No, I was,
because you can't sit here at the same time in the same conversation and say that.
But I still love Mike, right? I love Mike.
Even though
I love Mike as
Trump?
A boxer. Mike is not a friend of mine. I love Mike as a boxer, right? So me and Mike don't hang out every day. So I can love to watch Mike box and be a fan of everything that Mike does as an athlete, right? But I can separate. We don't align when it comes to his political views. So we might not be able to be best friends if we hung out. We might be arguing all the time, and that probably wouldn't be something I want for my life. So I don't think maybe me and Mike wouldn't be close friends. But as far as a boxer and the craft and the what he brought to the sport, I love. I loved watching Mike fight. But this fight wasn't one of those fights, and I didn't see Mike didn't look anything like the Mike that I knew. And what I don't get, I don't get it, is why are people angry at us as fans for not wanting to see somebody that we admire, some of us actually idolize, grew up on, look like that in the ring? There were people that was mad I was in my house, me and my brother was having a conversation with his baby mother, and she was like, oh, Mike can't beat nobody at 58. And I was like, but this is Mike, though. This is Mike. The Mike that I seen on the internet that was punching them gloves, that had this energy. I did not see that Mike in the ring, and it hurt me. It hurt me to watch somebody that I looked up to and I see as a warrior. It's like it's a few people that I felt like that about. I watched Mike, like Michael Jordan, even though I used to hate Mike because he always beat the Knicks, right? And I was a Knicks fan, but I admired that he was a warrior. Like I loved Kobe Bryant. You hated them when he was playing. Allen Iverson was my favorite basketball player ever. You know what I'm saying? There are certain players that have this eye of the tiger, and Mike was one of those, right? He was one of those people that was iconic in the sport. So to watch him go from that and see him that night. People's like, well, Mike made money. You got to understand. And I get it. You know, we all trying to make money. But I just feel like fights like that, you know, that put our legends in a position to where they look like a shell of themselves, it diminishes the value of the sport, and it actually diminishes the value of the athlete, to me.
It's almost like, which I understand during the time when, I got two thoughts on this. First, when Joe Biden was running for president, he was younger, clearly, and he was up against a man that probably Joe Biden is the only one who could have beat him. Excuse me. Because he also is a white man who, a lot of white men like Joe Biden. When they making a decision between Joe Biden and Trump, there's a lot of similarities in terms of them being two old white men who both of them have had some racist shit that, it has been cited. Some things that they done said, some places they've been, and some ideology that is pretty consistent, right? Because that's just an older white man, 78, 79. That's just what it is. I think obviously Joe Biden has become much more liberal, and one thing that I see about Joe Biden is that as he became, well, I would say, as he got older, especially after he was Obama's vice president, and he got a chance to be around the Michelle Obamas, the Valerie Jarretts, and other black women, you could tell that he knew black women, I need to have more of them around to advise me, right? More black people in general, but and more diverse folks, but definitely black women. And when black women are in the room, we're going to be in there looking out for every damn body because that's what we do. And so I'm sure that a part of his more liberal mindset comes from his relationship to other black women and other black people, especially somebody like Barack Obama, where good and damn well, it doesn't matter what they look like when they come outside. Dumb Obamas, when they back at the house, because they showing you now who they are. In these last few weeks of the campaign, Michelle done said some things, and Obama was saying some things like, whoa, where this come from? Because that's who they are. So I'm saying all of that to say, the sad part about it is that his legacy will not be what we knew of him when he first ran for office and while he was vice president and all of that. His legacy will be him being Sleepy Joe, right? And then Sleepy Joe didn't even have, in my judgment, the vigor that it took to go and say, I don't give a damn what anybody thinks. We are not going to continue to send weapons to Israel. We're not going to do it. So I know it's going to make this one fall out with me. This group going to be mad. AIPAC's going to come for us. We're going to have all that. But I'm just not going to let this happen. And I think that takes, because we have been in a position where we've had to deal with the Zionists and the whole thing. It takes, and he says he's a Zionist, it takes a certain type of person. And I don't think that he had or has what it takes to really go up for that fight, because it would be a knockdown, drag out fight. Right? Which he could just make a final decision and say it is what it is. But that's another day's conversation. So his legacy is not going to be the way that I think it should be. Right? Or the way that I'm sure he would like for, or his family members would have liked for it to be, because he got real old while in office. So I see that point. I think that on the other side, though, is that there are a lot of us that people will say, and especially older leaders like Reverend Jesse Jackson and others, that folks will be like, it's time for you to move out the way, and yet they still have something that they can contribute to the space. I think we need elders, younger people, middle-aged people, all still mixed up in the pot. And why is it that Reverend Jackson, who now he has, his health condition, but how come he's not good enough to make the keynote address, and it's got to be more this young guy? Why do we have to do that? I don't know. I don't know if I agree. I think I can see both sides. The legacy piece is one thing, which Mike says he doesn't care about legacies. But then I think on the other side, it's kind of like we can't just be moving people out the way because they're not the same old 22.
Well, I don't think it's moving people out the way. It's just understanding, like, when Magic retired, he became the CEO, right? He didn't go back and say, I'm going to play against LeBron and them, right? Once you retire and you realize that you don't have that fire that it takes to compete at the level that you competed when you already are a superstar, then you get another job. Like people said, Tyson need money. Tyson could be a promoter of a fight. Tyson can get a young artist. Like if you really want to help, young boxer. Yeah, if you want to really help Mike Tyson, they said, yo, Jake Paul did him a good job. I don't know. For me, it's just like he sat there and threw punches at a man. They saying he wasn't supposed to hit him, but he was hitting Mike. Right, he was making Mike look like he wasn't who he was supposed to be. He enjoyed that level, and then now you get to say somebody like Jake Paul, who's never fought anybody really in his life, can say that he beat Mike Tyson in a fight. Like that's what Mike Tyson's legacy is going to be, that he lost to Jake Paul, somebody who is on YouTube. Like I don't want that for Mike. And I'm sorry if that offends somehow. People saying you should just be happy because he made some money, and for me, it's just not about money.
Well, everything is gimmicky.
You know what I'm saying? Everything is gimmicky
everything
and money.
Is gimmicky.
And the sports, the fact that that's what sports has turned into is demoralizing, because now you can't get mad at these young kids that they think, yo, you know what? I ain't trying to fight. I ain't trying to really fight hard. What's the paycheck and who I'm gonna fight? Right? They don't want to be the best boxer no more. Like when you look at Floyd wanted to fight the best boxers. He wanted to be, even though he made it about money, but he always made it about the sport as well. He fought the fighters, and he won, and he fought, and he fought at a high level, and he went into that ring every time to fight at a high level. So it's just like when I'm watching Mike do this, it's just like I don't want to see this. I just don't. Maybe somebody else will want to see it. I think a lot of people are going to be turned off. I think Mike, if somebody tell you Mike is going to fight, nobody's going to go get it. And I think that diminishes his value. It's so many other things.
People still going to go.
I don't know.
They still going to go. I don't think he's going to do it again anyway. But people
But
are
he
still
said he was going to do it again.
But okay, we'll see. But again, everything is gimmicky. So as long as it's money to be made or what you call, and even with us, right? Like, I guess it's a quote out there that says, I'm not moving as fast as some people would think because I won't do these things in order to get there. And I look at us, people they offer us all the time, oh, you could do this, or you could talk about these topics, or why y'all want to stay on this. It's a harder road for us. I think about Black Effect, right? We're not, we do really well. Actually, people do listen to our podcast, and people respect us, and they want to hear our information, because everybody is not looking for who's zooming who. Everybody's not looking for that. Some people are really looking for good information, but us, and then Native Land podcast and others like that, it's a tougher pull to get us to where we have to be. And shout out to Charlemagne and Dolly at Black Effect. Native Land is not under Black Effect. It's iHeart Podcast, but nonetheless, you look at somebody like Charlemagne who understands that, and instead of him creating a business model that only allows for folks that's gonna get the hits and the 50,000 views all the time, that's not what he's invested in. He's invested in helping he got a little bit of that, he got a little bit of middle, he got a little bit of people that they got good information, but everybody might not be listening to it. Everybody's not there. We live in a world today where you need to be, in order for you to be number one, you'll sell anything in order to get there. So for some folks, Mike made $20 million. That's it. Like that for them
is the win.
Signifies success. Even he says, Mike Tyson, around the issue of legacy, which all the people that are saying they don't feel he said anything wrong, I just disagree. I think that, talking to young Jazzy's World, young baby she interviews people all the time. I saw some people like, oh, well, she shouldn't be interviewing grown people if she can't take it. That girl handled herself very well when she was speaking to Mike Tyson. So I'm not saying that she can't handle it. I'm saying we as adults, right? When we're talking to children, we can cast darkness over them, or we can give them life and hope and enlightenment, right? And when you're asking somebody, if a child is asking a parent, what do you want your legacy to be? You already know those are questions that, especially for a kid that's interviewing people. Now, his response, he could have said, I don't really focus on legacy. I focus on living every single day. Cool. But to say legacy don't mean nothing, it's something about ego, blah, 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 blah. So really, honestly, it's very much in line. He made $20 million and he don't give a shit about what you talking about. You over here talking about his legacy. The man don't even care. The man don't care about his legacy so much. He sat there and said some stuff to a child that I'm sure she'll go home like, damn, because she should be thinking about her legacy. She should be thinking about, when I'm gone, when I close my eyes, what will people go back and say about, one, what I have done, and will I leave a pathway? Will I leave something that somebody else could say, okay, I can look at this as a model for how I could do better, how I could even do more? Will I leave anything behind? That is what I don't think legacy is an ego thing. I think legacy is actually what helps to keep us in check as we live every day, right? Our legacy is what we should be checking in with. Now, your legacy might not be that you built 40 schools, and we all have things in our lives that we can look back and say, okay, that isn't the best part of me. But our legacy should be that you're able to say, well, you know what? They fought in the movement for social justice. They built businesses that allow other people to have opportunities. They went out and tried to live a certain way to give other young men and other young women a pathway towards success or to a brighter future. So I'm just saying what you're talking about and who this man is, and all the people that seem to agree and think that his statement to Jazzy was right. They all on the same page. It was 20 million. What you talking about? We ain't got $20 million. And I literally saw people saying, anybody that's mad about it, you can't even get on the train. So y'all don't know what you talking about, because everything is about this money. Is why Trump is so popular to people, because they believe that you can get money.
If you got money, then there's something to greatness. I just don't equate it. And that's what I'm trying to say. For me, and that's why I made the statement, because if that's okay with you, right, if you just see the money and you see the monetary value in it, and, you never wanted to uphold the vision of Mike that you had as a warrior, and you wanted him to either go out fighting like a lion, or just don't fight at all. If that's not what you wanted, then it's cool. But don't get mad at those of us who are really fans of Mike, who are fans of the sport, who enjoy the people that take their craft serious, that want to be in it. Either they gonna go out to the fullest potential, or they're not going to involve themselves at all. So that's just what it is for me. And I think boxing, and that's what's happening. Boxing has turned into, it's about money. And most of the top boxers won't even fight each other because they're looking for a payday. They're not looking to say, yo, I'm going to fight whoever's next. Everybody wants a payday, and there's nothing wrong. You should be compensated, right? We want you to be able to make money. We want you to be able to feed your family. You should be compensated for what you are. But I think, for me, those are just the rewards of actually being the best that you can be. Mm-hmm. Like watching LeBron James play at 40 years old, knowing that he's probably the oldest player and he don't really take that many games off. And these young boys are saying, I ain't going to play this game, and I'm not going to play that game, knowing that he goes out there and plays with the same intensity, if not more intensity, than these young kids, and they still talking about what they're going to get their, what their check is going to be and how they're going to get the next check. And he probably got more money than everybody, and he's playing at a level, and he's playing to be the best every time. It's different for me, and that's what I look for in the athletes and the people that I actually admire in anything. Mm-hmm. Is that level of drive. So shout out to Mike. He made his $20 million. Shout out to everybody.
But wait, I just want to say one last thing, and I'm done with it. I was thinking about when he said legacy is tied to people's ego, and I think that it is a myth that people don't have ego. Right? Like everybody, there's people, every human has some level of ego, and ego might also be connected to your confidence. But when I hear that, I think to myself, a lot of people don't feel that they have a responsibility to anybody else but themselves.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what you hear when people are like,
I
I ain't
think
worried
that's
about
more
that.
ego.
I'm not worried. Well, it could be looked at as ego. I look at it as ignorance, but there's a lot of people out here that they don't feel like anything that they do has an impact, or they don't care what the impact is that they have on others. And so that's how they're so easily disconnected. I think that at the time when people were concerned about their legacy, right, we actually were in a better place.
What?
The further away that
Because
we get
we
from
move away
caring
from
about
shame,
your legacy.
like that's what I say all the time. When you don't have shame, or you don't care what anybody thinks. Like I say all the time that in order for me to value your opinion of me, I have to value you, right? So I don't care about everybody's opinion. I don't care about strangers who, who might have just came and heard a freestyle that I did and be like, oh, I like this freestyle, but I don't like this. Then you don't like me, and it's fine. You like that freestyle, so just follow the freestyle. But this is, when you come to this page, this is the total Mysonne. So I'm not worried about that. But if somebody that's in my direct circle comes to me and they have a concern, like, well, I don't really like that. Now I have to assess that, right? If somebody that I
Not me. I say it all the time. I don't seem to get no. You know what I'm saying? You just roll
joking?
over me and be like, whatever.
That's a
you
joke.
always got something to say. We not going to always agree, and that's what I feel, and that's that.
But it depends on what it is. Because a lot of times that you come to me with something and we argue and debate, and I'll be like, later on, be like, you know what? You're right. And I leave it alone.
And then you go delete your impulsive
No.
social media post. All right, thank you. My point is well proven. I won this debate today. Thank you so much, Mysonne, for admitting, because it was really bothering me that you were acting like.
I'm not saying that.
You can close the show now because
once again,
I won.
I will confirm that I do make impulsive moves, right? Because we all make impulsive moves. That's human nature. I'm saying that if I make a decision that I'm standing on, it hasn't been impulsive.
I just won. That's it.
I don't know why you think you won.
Let's just close it up. It's a wrap. Sometimes when the people win.
All right, whatever. I've been accused of losing a bunch of things. But anyway, I'm not going to always be right. Tamika D. Mallory's not going to always be wrong. Look, she actually said she won today. So, but we both will always, and I mean always, be authentic.
Peace.
Salute.
That's how we own it.